Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webcast today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I see we have folks from all over the world, and we're very excited to have you here. Today, we'll be focusing in on bank communications, automation, and cash positioning. As usual, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, and I've already gotten some requests about that, so check it out. It is being recorded. And you can share with your friends, neighbors, colleagues, anybody else. Ask questions throughout the webinar. We're happy to answer those questions. Feel free to ask them. And of course, you can download previous webinars from our homepage. Wanted to share a little bit about how you can contact us and share some new stuff that we're doing. So as always, you can contact us and come to bramasol.com, check out our resources page, contact us. You can see here that we're running, and we'll talk about these quick hit programs and wins that you can come in and get quick, easy wins on Treasury from Bramasol. You can also engage with us at Facebook and LinkedIn. This is our LinkedIn updated page. But by the way, we are also on Apple iTunes. We're running some podcasts, so we encourage you head on over to the Apple iTunes, check out Bramasol, and download our Insights to Action podcast. There's some really great stuff, and pretty soon we'll be featuring one of our guest speakers on here, Haresh Chhaya, in that space. And if you really like iHeart Radio, you can join us there or come to our YouTube channel and check out any one of our probably nearly 100 different videos that we have out there for you. Our speakers today are myself, John Froelich. I am the VP of Marketing and Strategy, and I'm also here with Kim Dowling. Hello, Kim. She is the head of our Treasury Consulting team. Welcome, Kim.
Hi.
And we are so glad to have Haresh Chhaya back. He runs the solution areas for SAP Treasury and Working Capital. Hello, Haresh, and good morning to you. Or actually, good afternoon.
Hello, John. Good afternoon. Hello.
All right. So with that, let's talk about the agenda. We welcomed everybody. We're going to do a quick touch on some of the driving forces out there in the area of banking, cash management, and automation of that. And then Haresh is going to talk to us a little bit about a really great offer that SAP has in place and a solution. We're going to talk a little bit about the SAP Treasury Workstation and how that enables what we're talking about today. So real quick, I'm just going to kick this off, Kim, and then I'll turn it over to you and Haresh. But I wanted to point out to everybody why this is important. And we've been focusing on, and we'll continue to focus on, the ideas of digital transformation. And in the context, of course, of our framework of comply, optimize, transform, but really this digital transformation. And why is this important? Well, it's been estimated by a number of different folks, including PwC, that companies will spend about $178 billion on solutions for finance transformation over the next 5 years. Specifically, areas will focus on things like treasury and subscription management. A company named Trulio recently did a study and asked about digital transformation and what people were looking at and how the COVID crisis was impacting that. And over 90% of executives said the crisis was actually accelerating their digital transformation. And finally, Gartner said that 38% of executives will use costs and cost focus to drive transformation. And one of the big costs in both terms of resources and dollars and time, of course, is how are you managing cash and how are you managing your banks? So here we're going to talk a little bit about that. And Kim, I'll turn it over to you.
Right, thank you, John. I guess before I get into the details of the topic for today on the bank connectivity and the cash management, I want to take a few minutes more on discussion on the Treasury driving forces at the tail end of what you were just talking about. Because as we know, finance professionals are moving away towards from that tactical role to adopting a more strategic role. So visibility of data is now the most challenging area for Treasury, as we all have found, in that 90% of our executives are expecting that their teams should be able to drive higher business value and influence their business decisions quickly by reacting to these business events that we're having from now and over the next few years. Go on to the next slide.
Mhm.
So some of these, additional factors that are driving change. Yes, the visibility of data is now the most challenging area for Treasury, but that will also enable us to have that increase in speed of and the dimensions of change. We'll be able to have our data in real time and have that real time connectivity. And we also have that technology innovation that we can take advantage of, so that we can now have a better way of increasing the use of all of our tools, such as the machine learning, the AI, the Internet of Things, and so forth, which is going to be very important to allow us to have that visibility of our data. And what's very critical right now is our need for intuitive tools. So the Treasury directives are always, let's drive our cash flow improvements, let's optimize our assets and liabilities, enable our secure payments, very critical, and have that forward-looking insights looking to manage our financial risk, fund our businesses, minimize our cost of capital. But again, the digital world of technology is enabling the ability for our CFOs and our treasuries and our finance to really make those real-time financial decisions, so we can actually utilize those new cutting-edge digital technologies. So with that, we're pushing on that focus to drive the business into the future, not looking at the past. We're looking for that instant insight from anywhere on any device, whether it be on your cell phone, your iPad, or your PC, having the end-to-end process automation, that integrity of our data and consistency of our operations across the enterprise. So with those corporate objectives, they're not changing. It's how we achieve those objectives and what is changing because of our ability now to tap into the use of all these digital tools.
Yeah, spot on. Haresh, real quick, you talk to dozens of customers a week and CFOs and treasurers all over. Is this, consistent with what you're hearing too?
Yeah, that's right, John. And I think in your opening monologue, I think you hit the nail on the head. The crisis is actually accelerating customers to look at the technologies that can help customers benefit today by overcoming some of the challenges from the crisis. But at the same time, they're looking at this as an opportunity to set the foundation for some of the things that they can undertake in the future. So, their decisions today are not going to be temporary or short-sighted. They're looking to make those long-sighted decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Kim, let's talk a little bit about, focus in on banking, cash management, treasury. What is that? What's that all about, and what are we focused on here?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So I want to do this a little bit differently than what I've done in the past, because I want to now focus on a small scope here that enables our businesses the ability to focus on a key area of improvement that allows us for that scalable key improvement. And then I'll talk about a little bit what will go on with the next conversations and smaller webinars that we're going to have coming up after this one. But under our banking and cash management foundation, with this focusing on this area of improvement, what it's allowing us to do is I want to focus on bank communications today and cash management solution, which is going to encompass the direct connectivity of our multi-bank connectivity for all of our incoming bank statements to enable the automation of our cash visibility, our cash positioning for our payments, our liquidity forecast, and our working capital, and so on. So for now, just a small scope. We will come back and talk about the benefits with multi-bank connectivity for all of our payments, that's inflows and outflows, and how that also will continue to build our liquidity forecasting, look at our working capital, our debt investment management, and so forth and so forth. But today, we're just going to take this one slice of the pie and talk about the benefits of that. I'm going to show you the process first. So again, here's our digital core that we just talked about. So now we've done that, we're going to now look at, we have our digital core, all the pieces that are important to us with multi-bank connectivity connection here. So when we go on to the next slide, what I want to point out is we're going to connect with multi-bank connectivity. That's just, you can use Swift Network, or you can do SAP's multi-bank connectivity. I'm actually doing that for a client right now. There's a lot of benefits. We'll talk about that in a couple of slides down, and what the benefits of all these three couple of slides I'm going to show here. But I want to give you the pictorial first. So when we're connecting with our multi-bank connectivity, with our ERP integration, we have our messaging, our transmission routing with the banks and so forth. We're now bringing that in to our SAP system, whether it be, ECC, S/4HANA, the cloud, or so forth. And it's now going to be able to have our bank communications. Now we have our electronic bank statement and our bank statement monitoring. Now, to begin here, this improvement will allow us a scalable key improvement that will allow us to connect with the incoming bank statements for our multi-bank connectivity, which we know as MBC, and to SAP for electronic bank statements. We're not talking about payments out right now or payments in. We're not talking about reconciliation. We're not talking about GL entries yet in this particular little scope. We'll talk about that in the next webinar. We really want to talk about the benefits of connecting our bank statements coming in electronically, which could enable our visibility of cash, which brings us into the next slide. So we bring in our bank statements, all of our banks, one place, into our SAP for electronic bank statements, and now we've got our bank statements in there. We can actually see, I just took a couple snippets of some of the monitors in SAP. So you can actually have your home page, you can see, you can have your news, you can see what your cash position is for the day. You can see your bank statement monitor. Maybe one of them didn't come in, as in this case, we had a bank statement that failed. There might be a reason for it. You can drill into it and see in the lower picture to the right. You can look at information of your bank risk. You can look at your cash position details. These are just your front end, nice little screens that you can have. But so now you've validated that your bank statements actually came in by going through the bank statement monitoring. So then you can go on now. Your next step for the day is to go on to and look at your cash position. So now that you've got all your banks in one place, you have one single version of the truth for all your cash relevant data across all your business entities. You have that flexible, customizable automation of all your daily cash operations. You've integrated all your bank accounts, and you have the maintenance and control of them. And you also have the benefits of reducing the time and effort that's required to obtain that cash information, understand your cash requirements in seconds. Because look at this, if you look over to these pictorials right here in the center of the screen, you can look at your cash position by region. You can look at it by company code. You can look at it by bank account currency, your cash position by bank, or by bank account. And you can drill into any one of these items and see what's in there and get all the way down to your ERP. That's the beauty of this. You got everything in one place. You didn't go over to your bank portals and have to go in one by one, grab the information down, export it into Excel, try to piece it together, spend hours doing so. You just did it by a click of a button. All the information of getting those bank statements in from MBC, from your banks, is automated by itself at a batch every single day. SAP takes care of all that. You just walked in the morning, verify that your bank statement's processed, that maybe something didn't fail because, something happened in transmission that SAP would take care of anyway, or the fact that maybe one of your bank statements failed or a item in there, which you do some reprocessing. So you've got everything that you need by a click of a button. And now, voila, you got your cash position. You can go to town and start drilling into how you want to manage your cash for that day. We're not talking about bringing in AP and AR forecasted items yet. We're just talking about how to get your cash in one place, real time, immediately, for that first step in automating your processes.
I love this, Kim, because you and I have talked in the past about, my frustrations from a personal perspective of having to log into 5 different portals to figure out, between my bills and my mom's bills and other, my company bills and everything. So it would be really nice to have one place. I didn't have to log into 4 different portals and get my information. I just love what you're showing here. This is great.
Exactly. And
yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. And, I tell you, I've worked, as a treasury person, treasury director, and also have actually assisted other companies that are very large globally and some that are just US based. But, as you're bringing these in, you can bring in your bank statements, your intraday as well, in the US in particular, where that was used. So you can actually see if you're doing heavy investments in the US and so forth, and I have a lot of payments coming in or paying out, you can actually bring those in as well and see your real time. And it's just so powerful to be able to see all your cash balances as those bank statements come in. They pop right in here. You can decide when you want them to come in, when you want Asia to come in, when you want Europe to come in, when you want the US to come in. You want to bring intraday in, how many times during the day. You can easily, by those batch jobs and that connectivity, bring that in. A lot of times, by the way, the banks will actually bring in your intraday for free once you bring in your bank statements anyway. I haven't found yet where they're actually charging the client, so that's a good thing to know for the folks that like to bring in a few intraday, especially for their U.S. account. So it really is so helpful. without having to wait. Oh, did they bring in the bank statements yet? Did they reconcile them yet? Did they, bring in the Excel spreadsheet? I mean, it's here, it's ready. I mean, I like to get into work early when I used to do my investments and be able to see my cash right away, so I can take advantage immediately of the different deals that are out there, the interest rates and so forth, and save money there. Once I have my cash visibility right there, I'm good to go.
Yep.
So,
and Haresh, yeah, but let me pause for one second. This is the power of S/4HANA because it's real time. Maybe Haresh, you can comment a little bit about SAP's thoughts on the power of this when we looked at the launch screen and now the cash management. Maybe you can just, what are you hearing and what's SAP's thoughts?
Sure. Thank you, John. So what you're seeing on the screen in the executive dashboard is driven by the data that SAP has access to on the fly. What it means is the standard delivered application here, the executive dashboard, has pre-delivered, pre-configured queries which can directly look at your system data. And if you have S4, it's even better. But even if you do not have S4, you can utilize the access to your ECC system and bring all that data up here in this kind of graphical view. And essentially, now you have opened up a two-way channel, so you can monitor the high-level metrics at this level. And from here, you can directly dive into your actual data to manage exceptions. And what this has done is it has helped customers manage their cash and risk by exceptions rather than having to look at every transaction happening in the system. Now you're looking up at the metrics and deciding where you want to focus your energy and attention in.
Exactly.
And we know, Kim, from having done a few business cases with clients and the one you're working on now, that by having this position early in the morning and having it figured out, they estimate they can save hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year in incremental borrowing costs. So, the ROI is very powerful.
Yeah, you can also take advantage of all the different, the better rates in the morning too. And the sooner you can get out there, the better it is.
Absolutely.
Which is really, really great. So this is the last that I want to talk about, and this actually brings it all together. For my multi-bank connectivity that we're talked about today with my electronic bank statements and cash management, the benefits. So for the e-banking solutions, now that you have that multi-bank connectivity, you've removed that risk and eliminated errors by pulling in that information automatically into your SAP system. But you're connecting with those banks and onboard. Now you've actually, and that's another thing I wanted to bring on. Now you've onboarded your banks. So if you want to add another one, that's just easy. You already made the connection. You go and make the connections with another bank. It's just a bank-to-bank connection. It's nothing too complicated because you've already have that set up. Now you have that standard interface. You eliminated all those one-off bank interfaces and all that expense that you're paying for your IT department to connect with your banks every time the bank changes something, and then all of a sudden something breaks and you have to wait a couple hours to days to put that back together and spend all that time and effort. You've reduced your transaction costs and your fees for making those banking connections, something the banks don't generally tell you. And you also have full integration with your SAP cash management, which of course we showed in that slide before. And so you've got one single point of support and connection with SAP's MBC. And these are just some of the bullets I wanted to show that I thought the most important with this story. You've also strengthened your internal control, because now you have access to all your relevant data on one central platform. They're like, okay, where's your FOBs? How many people have access to all the bank portals? Did you actually give them the proper access? Did you take them off? It makes it a lot easier for your strengthening controls. You have that secure integration with your ERP, which of course in turn supports your SOX and legal regulatory compliance processing, which we can never get away from, as we know. Yes. And then electronic bank statement, as we talked about today. You're capturing that electronic bank statement via the SAP MBC. You got the bank statement monitoring, which we showed you, so you can see that they all came in and passed. You got the automatic cash position and update your current and prior day statement. And now you've gained your real-time insights into eliminating all those signing on to the various bank portals. And you also have the visibility of your actual cash position, all your flows in one place, accurate and timely, comprehensive view of cash. You didn't have to wait for someone to put an Excel spreadsheet together and make mistakes. And you reduce that problem with all those mistakes of poor data quality and unreliable cash visibility. So together, this was my little story today of some things that you can do for improvements. That's a little bite-sized piece, easy to do. And then the next discussions we'll talk about next time, we'll talk about a little bite-sized piece you can do with payments into multi-bank connectivity and your reconciliation and GL and liquidity forecasting. That will be next up.
Yeah, and you'll look forward to, we're going to continue to build on this foundation together with Kim and Haresh. You know, this is great because I think of, and we've talked about this in a number of different forums as we look at these times of economic disruption, right? And the new realities of work from home. And the power of SAP is this integration, and the power of SAP is bringing this all into one place. So you do have a single visibility. You've strengthened the internal controls as people work remote. You know, now you don't have these issues of logging on to multiple portals. You have a secure place that you're doing everything. And of course, I love the idea of a single statement and, you know, the power of real-time insights, you know, my favorite, insight to action. And the fact that it's all integrated, whether it's ECC, even more powerful, of course, by the real-time integration provided by S/4HANA in the Universal Journal in real time. But, you know, Haresh, we hear a lot of people talk about, oh, I got to buy the whole SAP thing, and I'm not there yet. And I wish SAP had a workstation. I wish SAP could show me something. I know, Haresh, you've been talking a lot about this, and I love this solution. Maybe you can spend some time sharing with our audience, you know, a little bit about the Treasury Workstation in the cloud.
Sure, John. So the wait is over, as they say. SAP has been investing energy and dollars into coming up with a solution in Treasury which could help the customers get started on their S4 journey. And depending on what your ultimate strategy is going to be, it could be on-prem, in the cloud, etc. You can still start to run your Treasury as a workstation in S4HANA. And this is what this picture depicts. I'm going to walk you through different steps. So we have, just as a result of the crisis that we are all going through, SAP has made it easier for our customers to start their Treasury journey faster. So, what you could do is you could start in a phased manner, in a slow manner, without worrying about what will happen to, your end state. You can start by, looking at what KPIs are important to you. As Tim was showing you, certain KPIs around bank balances and so on and so forth. There are quite a few available in the Analytics Cloud. You can start to look at those KPIs and how you will use them in your Analytics Cloud. That's step number 0. Followed by some of the things that Kim was describing around being able to get the statements from the customers, where you would be able to use the multi-bank connectivity tools and just be able to get full visibility of your cash. That's your step number 1 here. So start with the KPIs that are necessary for you. Pull in the data, the information through bank statements and monitor your cash position. That's step number 1. So 0 and 1 sort of almost happen simultaneously. Then once you have built that basic foundation, you can take the next step and start to look at how you will centralize some of these operations so that you don't have 10 different systems doing 10 different things. And now you can look at how cash management in combination with multi-bank connectivity, in combination with something that we introduced just in recent quarters, we call advanced payment management. This allows customers to have a single channel of all the payments from across the company go out through to the bank in a very controlled fashion. So you can look at that step number 2 using a combination of cloud for cash management, multi-bank connectivity, and advanced payment management. Now you have visibility to cash in step number 1. You have payments going out in a controlled fashion, which means you have even more control over your cash management processes. And then last but not the least, if you're doing business that is exposed to FX risk, you can take the next step, which is step number 3, by looking at SAP Treasury and Risk Management in conjunction with market rates management and trading platform integration. So we've sort of broken this down into smaller chunks so that you don't have to take the full bite with everything in it, and pace yourself to start slow and then keep picking pace. and eventually you will end up in a full-fledged treasury system, which will ultimately take you on your path to your S4 journey.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, and I think I we'll show these in some future webinars. But what I like, this is a great, and I'm excited about it, and I wanted to get it out there as fast as possible. Haresh, for our audience, and we'll of course market this out. But the power of S4HANA and the new interfaces. Everybody talks about how some of these third-party solutions look pretty. Pretty's great, but the new Fiori interface is intuitive, it's smart, it's clean, but it links to the power of SAP and is integrated in. And this solution not only is integrated in itself, but is easily integrated back to your ERP, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And John, I would just say one more thing. I've not met a single customer. I've met hundreds of them, maybe thousands in my complete work life. I've not met a single customer who says that integration is not good. Everybody likes integration. It's just that, some companies do it one way versus some companies do it the other way. And SAP's belief is if the integration is done natively through organically built application, which SAP solutions are, you're going to have more integrated, better, more robust solutions compared to patching them up using 10 different types of APIs managed by 10 different companies.
Yep. And
you also reduce all that cost of maintaining all those connections too, and when they break and how long it takes to put them together.
Exactly.
Or worrying about master data not being, in both places and all the work that goes with that as well, which is, I've been on both sides of the fence. It's not easy.
All right.
The other thing I wanted to mention, one more thing, when Haresh was just talking about the different steps, it goes in line with what we're talking about today with, and also within that other piece that he was talking about, the cash position, the liquidity forecast, short-term and long-term, is also part of that, which we'll have in another discussion. It's not a separate it's not a separate module you buy. It's part of it. We're just going to talk about it as a separate step.
Absolutely. Great. All right. Well, thank you both. We've promised to keep this short and concise for our audience going forward. I do want to run before I really wrap this up, maybe a couple of quick polls. So we're going to launch a quick poll. For those of you out there that are involved in Treasury, and I know there's a few, kind of give us a sense of what you're focused on. Is it cash management, banking and payments, risk and exposure, or other? And if we can get you all to vote, that would be awesome. And, while we're talking about that, again, the idea, we've been consistent, Kim and I, you and I know Haresh has been on calls with a number of customers. And, what we're seeing in the results here are where customers seem to be focused. They want to manage their cash and cash position, and they want to understand, how do I improve my visibility of that cash using banking and payments? So we'll give folks another couple of seconds. I encourage you to vote often. All right. Come on, we can get one more person to vote. All right, we're going to close it out. All right, thank you for that one more vote. You were awesome. All right, so as we can see, we're going to close this out. It's pretty evenly split. Some people were focused on other, but most people were focused on cash management, banking and payments, risk and exposure, something they're looking at in the future. And I think that's consistent, Haresh and Kim, with what you're seeing in the marketplace. Is that right?
Hey, John, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the results. Are you showing the results?
You know what? Can I share the results?
Oh, thank you, John.
Can you see them now?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. So you can see the results, and you can see that 42% of people said cash management, 50% banking and payments, and then 8% other. So you might be credit and collections or other things, but it's pretty consistent with what we're seeing. So
right. And we'll show the next one.
Yeah, and we're going to show one other quick poll, if you don't mind. This is all about you, the audience. So we would love to hear about the topics that you are interested in. So if you could just give us a quick sense back of what you'd like to hear about. We are going to focus on automated bank reconciliations in the future. We'll talk about straight through processing at some point in time, risk and exposure, analytics, and cash and liquidity forecasting. So give us a sense of what you'd like to hear about. We've got 32% voting, and then I'll show the responses. It looks like cash and liquidity. Kim, you and I and Haresh, we always say cash is king. It looks like cash is king here.
It really is, and it still does tie into, the other pieces too with straight through processing and automation. So it is. I mean, if you don't know where your money is, how are you going to be able to manage it and plan it accordingly and know what's, liquidity forecasting, what funds are coming in and coming out over the periods of time, either short term or long term, so you can make proper decisions.
Yep, and that's consistent with what you're hearing too, Haresh. We'll share those responses with everybody so you can see. We have pretty much the winner, of course, is cash is king, cash and liquidity forecasting. Some people interested in analytics, and of course, the beauty of S/4HANA and what we show is analytics is embedded in everything that we have there. We do have one.
And John, I think one thing that is interesting is analytics is surfacing out there, and I think the reason is when you think about cash and liquidity, for certain companies, they could have several bank accounts, several banks they might be dealing with, and going into the details of every bank account and trying to figure out what's going on is time consuming and probably not the most efficient way. So many companies that we are talking to at SAP, they're saying, hey, show us the big picture. Tell us where we need to focus our energies in. And that's where analytics becomes a very prominent aspect, because that's where you start. And from there, you sort of navigate into the areas which may be a problem area for you.
Absolutely.
And when it's all in one place, you can dig into it from there as well and dig down into it to find out where it's actually coming from.
Yep. And interestingly enough, I had a couple of people respond in the questions tab or raise their hands to say, well, I couldn't choose just one. Actually, several of these are important to me, and also on the areas they're focused. A lot of people are not just focused on a single area, so that's great to know too. All right, well, Haresh and Kim, it's been a pleasure as always. I'm going to hide this and move to our next slide. I just want to remind everybody and let everybody know that we do have a Treasury health check. It goes across 4 different dimensions and takes a look at your accounting and your Treasury decisions. It then analyzes and looks at your functional areas and the alignment of your Treasury implementations and solutions with that accounting. We then dive into the analytics and reporting, as everybody asked, and we look at a technical area to give you a sense of what that looks like. We do that by walking through 3 basic steps. We do a project preparation to align with you on your goals and objectives. We then do a series of 9 workshops where we try to understand and work with you to understand how you're involved in specific areas. And of course, in the Treasury space, we refine that down. We use the project preparation to understand, are you interested in cash and liquidity, or more on banking, or more on debt and risk, and we'll tailor our work on that. And then you'll get a detailed report and findings out on where you can gain the most advantage in some quick hits and position you, of course, for your journey to S/4HANA. So with that, I'm going to thank both Haresh and Kim again. Thank all of you for joining us. We have another webinar coming up in August that I hope you'll check out and sign up for. And as I mentioned, our friend Haresh hopefully will be on some of our podcasts. So go over to the Apple iTunes and iHeartRadio to sign up for our podcasts. So with that, I thank you both very much. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up? We'll start with Kim, and then Haresh, you can take us home.
Well, I am looking forward to talking about the other little bite-sized pieces of areas of improvements that I know the audience is interested in, which talks about the different payments and the possibilities through there. But there's with all the different possibilities of SAP, that is so much fun to have those conversations. And as Haresh knows best, I mean, the possibilities are enormous of what you can do today versus what we could do years ago with the transformation and technology that SAP is bringing to the table. And Haresh, I'll leave it to you from there. And thank you very much, John and Haresh.
Sure. Thank you, Kim and John. So just a couple of thoughts, closing thoughts. SAP has a vast portfolio of business solutions, and sometimes treasurers tend to be a little bit reserved on that front, in the sense that they are a little bit concerned about being lost in the big world of SAP. What has happened over the last few years through SAP's investments in S/4HANA is we have carved out our solutions, especially in Treasury, in such a way that you can start by using Treasury start to benefit from Treasury solutions and not worry as much about the rest of S4 or ECC products. And this is why the solution that we are offering now in the cloud using the Workstation format is quite beneficial for these customers. They really don't have to worry about the big SAP machinery and just focus on Treasury benefits, which are very realizable, not in years, but in months, or in some cases, even weeks. So it's not that big, scary SAP machine that it used to be anymore.
Absolutely, and as you know, and
Good point.
we have an offer that we have out there that we've been co-marketing with SAP that we can get you up and running with a basic solution like that, Kim. Depending on how it is, about 8 weeks or so?
Yes, for some of the small bite-sized pieces, yes.
Absolutely. So, as Haresh pointed out, everyone, you don't have to do it all. You can start taking advantage and get some real value out of SAP in small digestible chunks. So with that,
Yes.
Thank you, Kim and Haresh, again. And I hope everybody has a terrific day. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.